Hello and welcome to Dropkick Chronicles, episode 7. I am your man EH3, and we will be talking about the Ruthless Aggression Era versus the Attitude Era, or the other way around, whichever you like. So, I'd first like to say that my favorite era out of the two is the Ruthless Aggression Era because the Ruthless Aggression Era paved the way for WWE's, wrestling of today. If it wasn't for the Ruthless Aggression Era, we wouldn't really have superstars like John Cena, Randy Orton, Brock Lesnar, Batista, you know, just to name a few. Um, and so the Ruthless Aggression Era was the era that my generation of viewers grew up on. So, was born into the Attitude Era in the year of '98. Yep, the year of '98. It was like smack dab in the middle of one of the greatest eras of all time. But like I said before, one of the greatest eras for me is the Ruthless Aggression Era. Being so because, you know, think about it, it had so much like edge to it. You know what I'm saying? It had so much nostalgia to where like the same concepts of then they still incorporated into today. And so, back then, I said this in a previous episode on the podcast, man. I was like, WWE literally used to they used to look to secondary talent. And what I mean by secondary talent is like, you know, the guys, like it's like having a secondary quarterback versus the first. You know what I'm saying? It's like having somebody to look to if your main guy isn't there to carry the company. And so the thing about it, what they've always been good at, and I say this time and time again, is building superstars. Um, but it's not so much that, it was so much like, bringing in new talent, right? So, here you have 2002. It's in the middle of June. That's when they was like, get the F out, and they had advertisements all over TV. And so they were transitioning from the other letter to the E. So here's the thing, the Ruthless Aggression Era in my book is better than the Attitude Era. The Attitude Era was, one of the most important eras in WWE for WWE's history, right? So the Attitude Era lay host to the Monday Night Wars. So you had the ratings, like brand supremacy, but kind of like promotion supremacy, right? Between WWE and WCW. So you had, the Monday Night Wars, and they were competing to see whose ratings were going to go up each week. So I think WCW held the, they held it for 83 weeks. So, and Eric Bischoff has a podcast called 83 Weeks. Shout out to them over there. But this is Dropkick Chronicles, by the way. Anyway, so you have that, and the thing about the Ruthless Aggression Era, there was still competition, but it just wasn't outside of the WWE. Like it was inside of the WWE. Uh, excuse me. And so you had Raw versus SmackDown every year around Survivor Series. They would come invade the other show. I love that concept. I hope they do it again this year for this year's Survivor Series in 2021. That's like my favorite pay per view outside of WrestleMania and SummerSlam and Royal Rumble. So I'm gonna get right into it. So talking about why the Ruthless Aggression Era is better than the Attitude Era. Now this topic, is it's not really talked about. Like I feel like it's not really talked about. Here's the thing, folks. People talk about everything other than the Ruthless Aggression Era. That's what I really think. I really want to touch on it more because I'm like, man, this is a legendary era. And even though it lasted around like 6 years, from 2002 to 2008, like wow, like they really, like back then they really knew what they were doing with talent. Today they waste talent. You know, today they waste talent and they don't really, build. I've said this time and time again. I just wanted to see better product. That's all. I just want better product, better, uh, better like better faces, better characters. It's not about the person. It's about the character that they are portraying. It's about that. You know what I'm saying? I always talked about the Undertaker and Kane. Those are two of the most, well kept characters of all time. Two of the most long lasting characters of all time. Don't get me wrong. I love it, but today is today, and that was then. That was back then. So we're gonna get into it. So now, the Ruthless Aggression and Attitude eras are the two most, biggest eras in WWE history. So another concept, another thing I liked about the Attitude Era over I'll say this. The Attitude Era had, a lot of factions. It was like it was building blocks for today. This is why we have, developmental. This is why we have like NXT. If I think even back then, if it wasn't for OVW, I don't think we'd have an NXT. And I can't forget about FCW, Florida Championship Wrestling. That was in Tampa after they they left Ohio and they started signing talent. I think they left Ohio in 2007. Yes. And they started signing talent in Tampa, sending them to Florida, and sending them up to the main roster, and that's until like they did it for 5 years until they had like NXT, and they were signing superstars left and right, and pulling them from the indies. And here's the thing, that's great. That's how you build. But today they send them to NXT and then they send them to the main roster and they tear them down character wise, but that's besides the point. So to think about it, just the Attitude Era had factions upon factions. You had the McMahon Helmsley regime, you had D-Generation X, you had Edge and Christian, the Dudley Boys, the Hardy Boys. Female wrestler wise, you had Lita, you had Trish Stratus, Jacqueline. What's that lady's name? Terry Runnels. You had her. You had I'm talking like it's like a number. Luna. You had a number of females. Oh yes, and you had China. Rest in peace. She was a part of DX. She was one of the founding people of that faction, that stable. For when they first started, it was Triple H, Shawn Michaels, and China. If all of you remember, the year 1997 was the start of the Attitude Era. Now, think about it. To think about it, you know, those times were great. They had the In Your House pay-per-views. They had, you know, uh, let me see, because once they did once the Ruthless Aggression era came in, they had Raw and SmackDown would actually feature pay-per-views, and that was a great concept too. Like I said before, they knew what they were doing. They knew how to write. They knew how to build everything. But the greatest thing about that is, um, like I said, man, like the Ruthless Aggression era is the better era. I can't put it, you know, any more like further or less than that. You know what I'm saying? Like it had everything. SmackDown and Raw, and SmackDown versus Raw was like, they was grimy, man. But like Raw was the entertainment, and while like SmackDown was like the wrestling side of it, right? So that's cool. You know, WWE created Raw back in 1993, January 11th, January 11th, 1993, and they created Raw for a specific reason. Here's the thing, you know, um, you got this large company, because before that they just had like pay-per-views. They had like syndication TV in the 80s and the early 90s, and then they created Raw. You know, that's why Vince McMahon is a genius. You know, you're gonna have a weekly episodic television show based on the sports entertainment. And then 1999 came along. I think it was. Let me see. It was in the middle of 1999 when SmackDown had its first episode. Yeah, it was on. I want to say either it was on. I think it was on UPN. Boom. Okay, so here's the thing. SmackDown actually ended up taking over the ratings for WWE over Raw. SmackDown was so grimy in the 2000s that, you know, Raw was just like, it was still good. Don't get me wrong, it's Raw. In the middle of, like, you have good writers. Like, they had different referees on each show, different superstars on each show. I think they really had different writers on each show, if I'm not mistaken, because man, they were writing the heck out of SmackDown. They was having championship matches nearly every week. You had Raw superstars appear on SmackDown during Survivor Series season. And like I said, it's one of my favorite seasons, like pay-per-views of all time, because it has it brings a different vibe. You know what I'm saying? Like, it brings a different side to WWE to see what they could do when they pull both shows together. And so, you know, it got so crazy to, like, they even came out with like video games. Shout out to THQ. Great game creators. Nobody had ever beat them creating a wrestling game. Oh my God. 2K, you need some work. I'm gonna tell you now, you need some work. Yeah. Other than that, I'd have called EA Sports. It's in the game, because, like, oh my God, 2K is doing a bad job with WWE games. But alongside that, they had the SmackDown versus Raw video games back then. And when I was a kid, I used to play. I played first. They played SmackDown. They had SmackDown. I think, what was the first SmackDown game? Was it Shut Your Mouth or Just Bring It? No, Just Bring It came out in 2002, and then Here Comes the Pain came out as well. WWE had a choice, like games, man. They had games for Xbox and PlayStation. That's back when you either chose between the Xbox 360 or the Xbox, I mean, or the PlayStation 2. Man, I mean, to think about it, WWE, they kept accumulating, big numbers, bringing in, multiple fans from all over the world, like they had been doing. They even went so far, like in the Attitude Era, they went so far to like tour over, like worldwide. They had been doing that, um, and they were in Kuwait. The Undertaker wrestled in Kuwait. Stone Cold has wrestled in Kuwait. Triple H. They wrestled all over the world, and Ruthless Aggression Era really went worldwide. They wrestled in Australia, 2002. I remember that pay per view. They had a WWE Championship triple threat match between Triple H, Brock Lesnar, and The Rock. The Rock was the champion at the time, and he retained the title in Australia. Um, man, such nostalgia. So what really started the Ruthless Aggression Era, and I told you what started the Attitude Era. Really, the Attitude Era started because they really needed, less cartoony characters and more edgy characters. More raunchy TV, more edgy TV. Than just being, oh, okay. You got Bret Hart, you got Hulk Hogan, you got Macho Man Randy Savage, okay, Owen Hart, you got all these cartoon like superstars like Ultimate Warrior, you know that's crazy. They went from cartoony to edgy, and you had Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Rock, Triple H, The Undertaker, Kane, D-Generation X, all of them, man. And I feel like the few superstars that came in before the Attitude Era even started, like mid '90s, they fluctuated through the eras. Like they, you know, it stood through the test of time because you have to. Undertaker's character is one of the longest running characters in WWE history, spanning 30 years. If you didn't know, Undertaker has literally been in WWE since arcade games, since 1990. It's before my time. So, man, and just talking about all of that, I have to get into um, the start of the. You know what? Before I even get to the start of the Ruthless Aggression Era, let's get to the end of the Attitude Era. So the end of the Attitude Era, it was in 2002, and this is when it was WWF. I said it. It was WWF, and they wanted to make change, right? So they had superstars, put on commercials. They was like, "Oh, get the F out," you know. They like superstars like The Rock. They was like, he had to get the F out T-shirt on. The F with the little red slash mark under it. So it was from WWF to WWE. So from World Wrestling Federation to World Wrestling Entertainment. And so the thing about it is Vince McMahon wanted to change his brand. He's a genius. He's one heck of a genius, you know. So think about it like this, right? If you have a company and you still want to make the same impact, but you want to change a few things, would you do it? Yes. Because of the times, nobody really knew the real story behind him changing those two letters. That's cool. That's good, but we're going to get into it. All right, so the end of the Attitude Era, I think it was June 2002. Yes, June 2002. Thing about it is, you know, it was great because you had new superstars, and the thing about it, and you like, okay, all right, he went on Raw. Now this is the start of the Ruthless Aggression Era. This is when the words Ruthless Aggression first spewed out of Vince McMahon's mouth. Live television. A 2002 edition of Raw, WWE Raw, Monday Night Raw. And he was like, I gathered you all today for one reason: ruthless aggression. Those probably are not the exact words that he said in the promo, but I'm saying they're similar to what he said simply because he wanted all of his talent to know that it's some new blood coming. He signed new superstars. It's a new revolution happening, and it's going to start today. Yep. It's no more WWF. It's WWE now. You know, they had to get used to saying WWE. And so for the past, since 2002, past 20 years, it's been WWE. So, what I want to say, right, is that during that time, superstars like The Rock, superstars like, The Undertaker was always going to be, he stayed, like the longevity I was talking about, The Undertaker and Kane, two of the longest running gimmicks of all time. I'm surprised The Undertaker is not in the Hall of Fame now, but he will be in the coming years. Just give it time. But aside from that, your top stars were, dwindling, man. They were dwindling down. They had their days of winning championships. They had their days of, having to, carry the company. It got to the point to where Stone Cold stopped wrestling like forever. He hadn't wrestled since 2003, since The Rock beat him at WrestleMania 19. And so that's the last time he ever wrestled. He was like, well, I'm hanging up my boots, but that don't mean I can't make appearances here and there and can't stun somebody and drink a beer while doing it, The Rock, The Rock story. The Rock lost the WWE Championship to, he lost the WWE Championship to Brock Lesnar at SummerSlam in 2002. And that's when you see Brock Lesnar was a star too. Okay, because he had came to WWE before that, before he won a WWE title, and he had made an impact, a dangerous one at that. Excuse me. So pretty much those top stars, they were, they needed, like, they was just like, fading away. So they needed, new people. So you got your people like Brock Lesnar, like I just got through saying. You got your people like, Randy Orton came along. He won Intercontinental Championship. He's the youngest world heavyweight champion of all time. He became champion at the age of 24 in 2004 at SummerSlam when he beat CB to become champion, Chris Benoit. So, yeah, man, the Ruthless Aggression Era laid host to a lot of things. And that's the thing. They needed new stars. That's really the thing WWE's always been good at, is bringing in new faces, right? Signing new talent, but it's just pushing them that they have to fix. And they have to be booked better than they're being booked. So to say the least, 2002 laid host to a lot of things. It brought in a lot of new faces, man. Moving on through the years, the 6 year span that the Ruthless Aggression Era had, and it ended in 2008, thus bringing in the PG era, 2009, and on to now, the reality era is what they call it today. So, hmm. So, alongside the men, the Ruthless Aggression Era began to give female wrestlers and women more credit, because before that, even though the Ruthless Aggression Era, um, they had, bra and panty matches, they had, you know, nightgown matches or whatever they called it for the women. They had women's championship matches too. You had women like, let's see here. You had women like Lita. You had Trish Stratus. You had, oh my God, Jazz. You had Jazz. Just to name a few. You had Stacy Keibler. Yeah, Stacy Keibler. Who remembers her? You had Tori Wilson. What? I kind of had a crush on her, no doubt. I think everybody did. That's besides the point. But anyway, yeah, man, you had like the women were gaining their wits too, because they were like pioneering and making ways for people like today, like making ways for your Becky Lynch's and your Sasha Banks and your Charlotte Flairs, your Bianca Belairs, your Liv Morgans, your Carmellas, the women of today, even the women of not yesterday, but one yesterday. Your women like Nikki Bella and Brie Bella, they're actually Hall of Famers. I cannot believe that. Wow. I cannot believe that. I surely can't. Your people like Alicia Fox, who remembers her. And so on and so forth. Natalia, Tamina Snuka, by the way, that's Jimmy Snuka's daughter. And you got so many superstars of today who look up to women like Lita, look up to women like Victoria. Who remembers Victoria? Look up to women like, Trish Stratus, Mickey James, just to name a few female legends. Mickey James needs to get her due, and she needs to be put into the WWE Hall of Fame. Come on. make it happen if it has not already happened. But yeah, the women, they were gaining more credit years and years. The women's division was getting better and better and better and better and better. You know what I'm saying? The women's division of today, man, it's good, no doubt. They're carrying it, man. They've had legendary, like, history making matches, like a women's Hell in a Cell match, a women's like an Iron Woman match. You know what I'm saying? Who remembers that legendary Iron Woman match in NXT between Sasha Banks and Bayley? Bayley, get well. We miss you, no doubt. So that's another superstar. I forgot the name. Bayley, very talented young lady. Thing about it is, man, the Ruthless Aggression Era laid host to Eddie Guerrero winning the WWE title at No Way Out 2004. The Ruthless Aggression Era also laid host to a SmackDown pay-per-view called Armageddon. That pay-per-view, oh my God, bro. That pay-per-view literally that pay-per-view was like, oh my God, bro. That was one of the greatest pay-per-views in WWE history. They need to do something with that pay-per-view, bring it back. Something. or something. Or if you can't bring Armageddon back, bring No Way Out back. Oh my God, man. The nostalgia of those two pay-per-views alone just give me goosebumps because I'm like, I miss watching it, you know? I look on Peacock all the time. I be like, man, look, here's the thing, right? I want to watch, you know, old pay-per-views like Armageddon, No Way Out, Unforgiven. Just to name a few, you know. I want to watch those pay-per-views because I miss them. You know, I miss when, like, and this is what makes me mad about today. How you gonna create? Like, how you gonna create a set for a pay-per-view and have it look the same? What is going on? All this money y'all got and y'all can't create. I'm talking about stocks is going through the roof. Come on, man. Dang. You can't create a different type of set for every pay-per-view. You got to have LED board this. Big stage that. LED board on the ring. Man, people try to dispute it. There's nothing we can do about it. It's just WWE being WWE. But at the end of the day, man, the Ruthless Aggression Era was so great. They had a set for every pay-per-view. And every year they had like set pay-per-views every year. Like pay-per-views fluctuated. You know, at least they had like a 5 or 6 year span, you know what I'm saying? Like the same type pay-per-views, like versus the Attitude Era where they had Attitude Era had like Fully Loaded, you know. That was one pay-per-view. You know, oh yeah. The Attitude Era, they brought one or two, yeah, they brought like one or two, like a few pay-per-views into the Ruthless Aggression Era, and I'm gonna name one of them. One of them is called Bad Blood. Who remembers Bad Blood? Bad Blood started in 1997 to actually bring like this type of like grimy sense to pay-per-views in the 90s, because they always had in your house pay-per-views, and that was good. It's legendary, you know what I'm saying? Like that's back when they had the 1-900 numbers when you used to call order. That's before they had WWE Shop. I think that's what. Yep, the Attitude Era started WWE Shop. Sure did, and back then it was called WWFshop.com, and so that's back in the day. Used to order clothes and stuff, and like ordering stuff online today. It was like 1-900 numbers for like WWE merchandises. You know, used to order the catalog, they send it to your house. Boom. That's similar to WWE Shop. But as I was saying, um, Bad Blood, and they brought over Bad Blood from from the Attitude Era, and they brought over Unforgiven. Ah, that pay-per-view spanned to like what, 2008? Yeah. Think about it, man. They were writing the heck out of WWE product back in the day, man. I remember it like it was yesterday. I used to literally sit up as a kid watching SmackDown in the middle of 2003, 5 years old, watching SmackDown, not understanding a lick of what I'm watching. But today I do understand it as an adult, and I love it. I still love wrestling, man. I still love it for the entertainment aspect. I still love it for the pro wrestling out aspect of it. You know what I'm saying? Think about it. Would you rather watch TV and see something entertaining? Or would you rather watch TV, see something not entertaining? Think about that. So, I mean, I like to touch on this subject so much that I've rambled and rambled and rambled and rambled. And so the Ruthless Aggression Era is going to stay as the better era than the Attitude Era. I mean, think about that for a second. Ugh. Here's the thing, folks. I love it. I love the Ruthless Aggression Era. I love what I watched as a child, And the reason why I didn't really stray away from WWE, when it ended, is because I was a kid. I was still growing up. I grew up like Ruthless Aggression. You had PG, and then today you got the reality era. So Ruthless Aggression Era from 2002 to 2008. Then you got the PG era from 2009 to I think 2016. Yep, and then the reality era 2016 to present day. Uh, eras in pro wrestling have a way of, having different like a different nostalgia about them, right? They all have what's great about them. Like I said before, the Attitude Era had the Monday Night Wars as competition in WWE. WWE is wrestling in competition, man. I'm telling you, WWE and WCW, it lay host of the best moments, like when WCW actually spoiled a Raw in 1999. They spoiled a result of the main event, and WCW Monday Nitro is actually live. But it was live back then, and Raw was taped. So you had that. They tell them, oh yeah, yeah, it looks like Mick Foley is about to win their world title. Idiots. Why did you do that? You literally just called Mick Foley. Bro, Mick Foley, it didn't matter what company that man was in. He was going to win championships all over the world. He's wrestled all over the world. Think about that. You tell people one of their favorite wrestlers in and out of WWE. I mean, and think about that. Some people were WCW people and some people were WWE people. So that literally caused WCW's viewership and ratings. That literally, it was like a paradigm shift, right? And that literally caused 600,000 people to flip the channel from Monday Nitro to Monday Night Raw. Wow, that's why the Attitude Era was the most important for WWE's history, because WWE had really never seen competition until the 90s. Like in 1995 was like it was like a new era in WCW. So and I know a lot about the history of WCW as well. So but I'm not going to get into all of that, but it in WWE's history, it plays an important part, because without that, WWE would just be WWE, and they would have never brought new faces like Lance Storm, Chris Jericho, Big Show, Booker T, just to name a few. They never would have brought those talent over to WWE. And without the 2001 invasion, without the purchase of WCW, they never would have expanded. WWE had just had their guys, their homegrown guys, like Triple H and The Rock. Homegrown talent. Stone Cold, he really does not I don't think he is homegrown talent because he worked for WCW before. But after he went to WWE, then yeah, he was pretty homegrown at that point. He had stayed with them. So think about that. You have new WCW outside, like WCW had like actually branched off from they used to be called is it NWA or like WCCW, or like World Class Championship Wrestling. Yes, it was World Class Championship Wrestling. Oh, I know so much. So that was like the 80s. And so you had World Class Championship Wrestling. You had Sting, you had Ric Flair, you had a lot of superstars. Man. Um, Also, to note, shout out to Ron Simmons to be the first or one of the first black men to win a world championship. Shout out to him. You made history in the 90s when he won a WCW World Heavyweight Championship. Uh, I think it was 92. Yep. I think it was 1992 when he won. Um, Also, there was another talent that came over to WWE in the 90s. hmm But aside from that, man, that's why the Attitude Era is so important. Without the Attitude Era, be a lot of things missing from WWE. A lot of things missing. Now, for the Ruthless Aggression Era, the Ruthless Aggression Era, like I said before, is important as well. Pitting that you had new faces. The Ruthless Aggression Era laid host to Chris Benoit winning the World Heavyweight Championship at WrestleMania 20 in 2004, and Eddie Guerrero winning the WWE Championship at the same year at No Way Out. Now the Ruthless Aggressions, they're that's crazy, right? Their great moments involve, you know, the inception of Mr. You Can't See Me, John Cena, the franchise, you know, hustle. Well, before he was hustle, loyalty, and respect, you know, um, laid host to the Doctor of Thugonomics. Yes, I miss those times because John had bars. He'd get on the microphone every week on SmackDown, cut a promo, but he would rap. He would rap like, you know, and it's cool. Like he always rap before a match. He like it. His first WrestleMania appearance was at WrestleMania 19 in 2003. He didn't have a match, but he did rap with props on the stage. If anybody remembers that, go look it up on YouTube. It's funny, man. But anyway, his inception was in the middle of June. I don't think it was like June 25th or June 27th, 2002 was his debut. And so with that, you know, that's crazy how John Cena looked a man like Kurt Angle in the eye, dead in the eye. And after Kurt Angle was like, now what makes you think what he was like, what do you possess that makes you the best in the business? What is the one thing you possess? You know what John said? He said ruthless aggression. There's those two words again. And so John took it to him. He took it to him in the ring. They had a match, and that was John Cena's debut. Even though John lost, John had qualities that they were looking for in new superstars. They were looking for, confidence. They were looking for willpower, determination. Those three words he been using for the past 15 years or 18 years. And really that's crazy. It's all wow. What June next year makes 20th anniversary for John Cena in WWE. Y'all know that, right? Wow. What? Wow. That's crazy. I was like 3 or 4 years old when he debuted on SmackDown, man. That's crazy. Before that, John Cena was in OVW as the prototype. But after John Cena left OVW to go to WWE and become a big star, he was the prototype and he was wrestling and he was trying to become like a big star there first, and that's when like that's the developmental aspect came in, because you had guys like Brock Lesnar, you had Dave Batista, and his name was the Leviathan. Now, many of you don't even know Brock Lesnar is that's actually his real name, so they can't really like build a character based off of that. But they did. They was able to, build Brock Lesnar's character, and that's why they called him the next big thing. And that's the thing about it, he never really like used a characterized name. Another guy I just got to talking about, John Cena. That's his actual name. And in the wrestling industry, when they give you, a name, that name carries you. Now in the Ruthless Aggression Era, it wasn't like Attitude. The Attitude Era seen like some of the biggest stars leave the company, like Kevin Nash. Not the Attitude Era. That was before the Attitude Era. Kevin Nash, Scott Hall, and Hulk Hogan, they left the company, but it wasn't really just like that. Hulk Hogan left the company back in 1993. He won one final WWE championship in main event in WrestleMania one last time before he left. And he signed a contract in, I think, 94 to WCW. Kevin Nash left in 96 along with Scott Hall and X-Pac, aka the 1-2-3 Kid, Sean Waltman. So, man, I got into so much, but getting back to my point, you know what I'm saying? Like, the Ruthless Aggression Era helped to make what is today. It inspired, you got superstars like Seth Rollins. And you know what's crazy is one more guy I forgot to bring up who actually pioneered the tag team scene in the TLC matches. Edge pioneered tables, ladders, and chairs, man. That was their thing. Him and Christian, aka Christian Cage, in AEW, they pioneered what is today. They helped bring, new matches. Like before them, there was just ladder matches, like that legendary ladder match at WrestleMania 10 between Shawn Michaels and Razor Ramon, aka Scott Hall. So that's the thing, man. Like without those eras in WWE, then we really wouldn't have, today. I talk about that all the time. There would really be no reality era. There would be no Seth Rollins, no Roman Reigns. Shout out to Randy Orton. He's still going. He one of the superstars that stood the test of time. He came in Ruthless Aggression Era 2002 after being in OVW with his other counterparts. And he's current Raw Tag Team Champion with Riddle, forming RK Bro. But man, that is besides the point. But man, like I said, man, I think like the Ruthless Aggression Era helped out so much because you had the brand split. You had everything that it needed to pioneer what is today. Superstars, it's like superstars like Randy Orton, John Cena, Brock Lesnar, Batista. They are future Hall of Famers. Batista was supposed to be, I think he was supposed to be in the 2020 class, Hall of Fame class. Yeah, in WWE. But I think it got pushed back. But I hope, for the life of me, they put this man in the Hall of Fame. He deserves it. I do not know why you yanked him out of there. all he's done for that company. You know, Batista's gone. You know, it's Batista, Rock, John Cena. They gone to Hollywood, man. You know, Batista's Guardians of the Galaxy, and some great other movies too, like Army of the Dead. Army of the Dead. You got other movies too. You know. But aside from all that, the Ruthless Aggression Era was, you know, it's crazy. It was crazy, man. But it had its good things, man. It laid host to some of the best promos, like that promo Eddie Guerrero cut on Brock Lesnar in 2004, telling him, "Yeah, I'm addicted. I'm addicted to this. It's pro wrestling. I'm addicted to this wrestling. I live, I breathe it, I eat it every day." You know what I'm saying? The promo didn't go exactly like my words, but it was similar to that, and it was so powerful. Like, and I don't even think that was really written. I don't think that was written, because sometimes promos are written, but sometimes it comes from here and it comes from here, you know? That promo came from Eddie's heart. That's why I love Eddie Guerrero so much, you know? That's crazy. Oh yeah, also yeah, Ruthless Aggression Era did see Goldberg as well. That's why you have him in WWE today. Um, he won, I think, one final world championship before leaving in 2004, and then he came back in 2016 facing Brock Lesnar at the 2016 Survivor Series, and then they had a feud, and then he was just coming back year after year. Um, yeah. But aside from all that, man, this has been Dropkick Chronicles episode 7, and I am your man EH3. And as I sign off, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to Dropkick Chronicles. Peace.